Have you ever wondered what went into making Severance so eerie and interesting? Today at Collider, we're sharing some awesome behind-the-scenes facts about the show. When Severance dropped on Apple TV+, it quickly became one of the most talked-about shows out there. The eerie office setting, the bizarrely polite corporate culture, and the mind-bending concept of separating work and personal memories had people hooked. But before it became a hit, the cast and crew had no idea if anyone would actually get it. Filming Season 1 was a long process, about a year and a half to be exact. That's a long time to sit with a project wondering whether audiences would embrace the weirdness or just be completely confused. Ben Stiller, who directed and executive produced the series, admitted they were all a little unsure how it would land. He told BuzzFeed that all they really hoped for was that people would watch it and think, "This is cool." That was the goal. But with a show as unique as Severance, there was no way to predict how people would react. Adam Scott, who plays Mark S., remembered the moment when he realized just how much people were into it. After the show started airing, he called Stiller, beyond excited that fans weren't just watching, they were obsessed. People weren't just tuning in, they were analyzing every little detail, debating theories, and actually caring about these characters. That was a huge moment for everyone involved. For Stiller, the real oh wow moment came when he overheard someone in real life using the terms innie and outie, the words used in the show to describe whether a character is in their work persona or their real-world self. For years, he had been saying those words while working on the show, and no one knew what he was talking about. But then, one day, he heard a random person casually drop his innie in a conversation. That's when it hit him. Severance had officially entered pop culture. The show's growing fandom only made things more exciting. Fans weren't just watching, they were diving deep. Online discussions were packed with theories about Lumen Industries, secret messages hidden in office layouts, and even speculation about the meaning behind certain colors used in the show. The break room scenes, the creepy baby goats, every little detail became part of a larger mystery for fans to dissect. For the cast and crew, seeing this level of enthusiasm was beyond rewarding. They had spent so much time wondering whether people would connect with the story, and now not only did people love it, they were obsessed. Filming a TV show is already a complicated process, but Severance took things to a whole new level by shooting Season 1 completely out of order, more like a movie than a traditional episodic series. If you think keeping track of plot twists as a viewer is tough, imagine being an actor trying to figure out if your character is currently an innie or an outie at any given moment. Yeah, total brain scramble. Ben Stiller, who directed and executive produced the series, explained just how challenging this process was. Instead of shooting episode by episode, the actors had to jump between different moments in the story on the same day. One minute, they'd be filming a scene from episode 2, and the next, they'd be thrown into a tense moment from episode 7. Stiller described it as a major challenge, saying they had to sometimes, on one day, do parts of episodes from like 3 or 4 different episodes and have to be jumping around and know where they were and if they were an innie or an outie. As if that weren't stressful enough, Severance's mind-bending plot and eerie setting made things even trickier for the actors. To keep everything straight, Britt Lower developed a clever hack. She drew visual references for herself to track her character's emotional and physical journey. I drew little pictures of Helly's action scenes, so I could go, "Oh, I've smashed through a window here," and then I ran down a hallway. Imagine trying to act out a major emotional breakdown one minute and then an escape attempt the next, all while making sure your innie and outie selves feel consistent. Part of the reason for this chaotic filming schedule was, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. Originally set to begin in March 2020, production had to be postponed, eventually starting in November under strict protocols. While frustrating at the time, the delay actually gave the writers and creative team extra time to refine the scripts and dig deeper into the show's complex themes. Stiller later reflected on this, saying, "Every time we had to stop on this project, I think it only helped us in the creative process because there were always questions we were trying to figure out the answers to." In true Severance fashion, the delay ended up being both a curse and a weird blessing. Beyond the actors, the production team had their own nightmare to deal with: continuity. Because scenes were being filmed out of order, they had to make sure that everything, from the sterile, eerie office lighting to the exact placement of the Lumen cubicles, remained consistent. Any small mistake could shatter the immersion, so the attention to detail had to be next level. In the end, the result was worth the headache. The finished product felt seamless, despite the behind-the-scenes chaos, and the storytelling was so tight that audiences never suspected just how tricky it was to piece it together. If anything, the fragmented filming schedule almost mirrors the experience of the characters themselves, trying to piece together a puzzle with missing pieces. Playing one character is hard enough, but but playing two versions of the same person who exist in completely separate realities sounds like an acting challenge. That's exactly what Adam Scott had to figure out in Severance, where his character, Mark, is split between his work self, Innie, and his outside world self, Outie. To make this work without totally frying his brain, Scott approached them as if they were two completely separate people who just happened to share a body. Luckily, Ben Stiller had a trick up his sleeve. He told Scott a story about visiting Michael Keaton on the set of Multiplicity, the 1996 comedy where Keaton plays multiple versions of himself. Apparently, Keaton had a giant whiteboard covered in charts to keep track of which version of his character he was playing in each scene. Inspired by this, Scott took a similar approach to tracking Mark's Innie and Outie, so they felt distinct but still connected. And honestly, that whiteboard was probably necessary. Think about it. Mark's Innie is a completely different guy from his Outie. Innie Mark only exists at work, is constantly confused, and is just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Outie Mark, on the other hand, is a grieving, emotionally shut-off man who has no idea his other self is desperately trying to escape his job. It's basically two separate roles, except they somehow have to feel like the same person deep down.
Who would have the power to send their Outie to the severed floor?
I'm sorry.
Scott wasn't the only one juggling character duality. Britt Lower, who plays Helly, had an even wilder twist to deal with. Her Innie is the show's ultimate rebel, doing everything she can to escape Lumen, while her Outie, plot twist, is actually a high-ranking corporate executive who willingly put herself in this situation. Lower had to make both versions of Helly feel believable, even though they were at complete odds with each other. Imagine filming one scene where you're desperately trying to escape your life, and then the next where you're the smug CEO who put yourself there. Acting gymnastics at its finest.
Hey, kid.
Irving.
Then there's John Turturro and Christopher Walken, who brought a whole other level of complexity with Irving and Bert's workplace romance. Turturro had to balance two wildly different versions of Irving. His Innie, who's a sweet, love-struck office worker, and his Outie, who's a rigid ex-military guy obsessing over Lumen's secrets. According to Turturro, body language and subtle emotional shifts were key to making it work. Just enough similarity to connect them, but enough difference to make the whole Severance concept feel real. The cast had to perform a high-wire balancing act, creating dual performances that somehow felt completely separate and deeply intertwined. Adding to the challenge, the actors also had to navigate Severance's unique tone, which blends psychological horror, dark humor, and emotional depth. The rigid, sterile office setting only amplified their performances, forcing them to rely on subtle expressions and precise physicality. Scott, Lower, and Turturro have all spoken about how the stark contrast between Lumen's eerie calmness and the chaotic emotions of their characters made every scene feel like a puzzle. Their performances helped bring the mind-bending world of Severance to life, making the show one of the most fascinating explorations of identity and free will in recent television. The making of Severance was basically a real-life puzzle. Out-of-order filming, actors juggling two versions of themselves, and enough mind-bending twists to make anyone need a whiteboard. But thanks to a super talented cast and crew, the show turned out to be a sci-fi masterpiece.
Milchick said we're famous.
All of us equally, or one of us is like the star?
Thanks for watching Collider. See you next time.